It's time for the moment you've been waiting for. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, they don't give a damn. So before you say anything, I'm going to say it first. I know I look like bootleg footage. I know I look like leaked footage to GTA 6 itself. I know I look like all the bootleg DVDs that you used to buy down in Jamaica Avenue. If anybody used to live in New York, you would buy the fake DVDs. They came in a plastic with a fake printed, faded looking cover of the movie. When you pop that bitch in, when you play the movie, there's people walking back and forth and they're sitting down and standing up at the good parts. I get it. Just bear with me. My camera broke. I'm currently trying to get it fixed. And hopefully you guys can still bear to watch me because I look washed up. I look like I have the leaks to GTA 6. I'm sorry. But let's actually talk about it. So PlayStation doesn't give a damn about anything we had to say last week. They don't give a damn about how people feel. Because if you go on Twitter today, they haven't tweeted out from last week to like 5-6 days up until this morning, where they tweeted out a promotion to a new fight stick. Okay, I'm not kidding. It says switch out lever gates with ease on the Flex Strike wireless fight stick, and it's a link to purchase their fight stick. They didn't respond to any of the backlash. They didn't respond to anyone whatsoever, but this is a huge callback, and I want you guys to understand something. This right here tells you that Sony is planning to give out another statement, because this is not something that's easy. They've already made some decisions. They've already made the call to make their companies switch over from making physical discs to make something else. So now they're gonna have to backtrack and make some decisions and possibly have to come up with a different way to kind of please the fans. But not only that, please the publishers. Now, there's something that many people don't know about how this works when you release digital games and physical games. In some cases, I think it's almost the best way for me to describe it, how I feel like a publisher would feel. Because let's be honest, even though Sony said they're going to release, only digital games, no more physical media 2028, 2027, I think, or 2028, January 2028, I know for a fact that publishers may be a little bit distraught about it. They might be a little bit bothered, but at some degree, they're saving a lot of cost. So for those that don't know how this works, publishers only make 50% when they're dropping like a disc version, a physical version of the game. They got to pay retailers about 30%. They got to pay Sony, I think, about like 10% when it's a physical situation, because Sony has to go ahead now and still manufacture the discs and everything. And Sony, I think it only costs them 50 cents to print per disc. So if they're making like $3.50 for manufacturing the disc portion of it, plus an additional, I think they make $10 for every sale or something like that the game makes. If the game is $70, they're going to still make a good chunk of money. But it's the retail stores that a lot of people are iffy with. They don't want to see that 30% come from there. Versus digital. If a company, if like say Naughty Dog drops like a game like Intergalactic and it drops only on the PlayStation Store, it doesn't drop no physical media, pretty much Sony only takes 30%, or around roughly 30%, which leaves the publisher to take 70% of that. So I know for a fact publishers may not be completely upset, but there is still a little bit of confusion as to like, why would publishers be bothered by this? Now you're probably wondering, why would publishers be upset? They're still going to save more money if they drop only digital. And there's so many different reasons. I'll give you a couple of like grounded reasons on the surface level of things. There's so many people out there, a lot of you guys included, a lot of you ladies included, where you may have a collection of games. You have it in the background. You may have special editions. These things actually matter so much to publishers. You got to realize something. When you drop music, right, and you have albums that you guys talk about, you could drop your top five favorite albums. People have vinyls. People keep physical copies of like, I guess, soundtracks or an album cover or an album discs or whatever, and they put that in their collection, and that means a lot to them. That's something that any publisher looks at like, okay, they still keep a piece of this. We've done something for the consumer. Believe it or not, that actually still exists. There's still some genuinity when it comes down to like publishers and developers releasing like physical media or a statue or any kind of pre-order bonuses that are like something that you could keep with you for like years to come. Not only that, creative control. A lot of the times when publishers are releasing like physical media, they have more control over how they're going to put out their marketing versus Sony. So if they're only going to go digital, and there's a little rumor here that kind of came out yesterday, pretty much Sony has full control over everything when it's digital. And therefore, if you are a Naughty Dog, if you are a who else, Santa Monica Studios or any other company that makes games for PlayStation, you basically have to go under their guidelines to drop any kind of media. You cannot like bring things out. It might cost more to market. We don't know how much it costs to market on the front page of the PlayStation Store, but a lot of the times marketing happens in retailers, marketing happens on YouTube ads, advertisements on websites, and when you go full digital, you have to now abide by Sony's rules, and that's something that a lot of companies were blindsided by, because there's an article here, something happened yesterday, whereas publishers and businesses were actually blindsided by PlayStation's news. So they went ahead and allegedly went behind all their partners' backs and all their publishers' backs to decide on this decision. And now it kind of put these people in a position where they're like, okay, wait a minute. So our physical marketing team, our marketing team that brings displays out in stores, or we might send people out to Target or somewhere, like, is that even necessary anymore? Because now we're doing what? Digital? So are we still going to put out physical discs? Because here's the biggest problem that a lot of people should understand, because GTA 6 is currently going through it. When you do, in this case, I don't even think it's about GTA 6. PlayStation doing this. A year later, 2 years later, if you hear Naughty Dog is releasing a game, or you hear God of War, Laufe is releasing a game, and say, for example, they don't release a disc version, we're going to possibly blame Santa Monica for that. We're going to blame the publisher for that. They're going to get ridiculed, and that puts them in a bad spot. That gives them bad press and negative press. And that's really all because of PlayStation's doing. So I think the communication here is really bad. I'll go ahead and read what's going on, but all this right now is news. And as I look at my camera, I'm going to look away because I look like bootleg footage, and I don't like how I look right now. So it says here, PlayStation killed discs without telling its publishers or business partners. This is an alleged thing, okay? This is rumors, it's alleged. But this article came out, it's by High Chaos Run, credible source. So this is like a huge piece that's coming out. This came out like about 2 hours ago or so. It says Sony blindsided publishers and partners, killing PlayStation physical discs in secret. Okay, man, oh man. It says it's been nearly a week since PlayStation announced it was killing all physical disc production for the PS5 and likely PS6 in 2028. While the company claims this is due to changing consumer preferences and trends, the fact that they use trends, okay? I'm actually laughing because they were like, we find it trendy. Like, fuck is we talking about? It's not trendy for digital market. It's just a lot of the sales that come from these stores are from like indies and stuff like that, man. So it's familiar with the company's plans, speaking to me on condition of anonymity, excuse me. Fearing retribution, have stated that PlayStation's decision was a unilateral one. Okay, it says publishers weren't kept in the loop and neither were the business partners. Now, we don't know if bigger businesses were aware, like again, like Rockstar. We don't know if they were aware. We don't know, because again, that marketing situation, they were like very close in cahoots with that. We don't know if Naughty Dog, Santa Monica Studios, or any other studios that's a first-person studio that's owned by Sony, we don't know if they were aware of this. It said, despite our seemingly close working relationship with PlayStation, we weren't informed that this was happening, says one executive at a major AAA publisher. It's only hitting us now that we may be out of job sooner rather than later. Now, the whole we may be out of job sooner rather than later, I'm not sure how that kind of works with the whole physical media portion of it, but there is a team that possibly works on the digital artwork and all these other areas, and eliminating any little bits of sources, I don't know who that benefits. I really don't. I don't have that kind of like information, intel. Like, does it benefit Sony to remove these people, or does it benefit the actual company themselves? Regardless, it might benefit the publisher, but it's not something that they wanted to make. It wasn't a decision that was necessary to make, to kind of remove the art team who would work on box art and marketing and stuff like that, because again, that would be under Sony. It says sources said that the secrecy extended on keeping the regional offices out of the loop as well. So much so that PlayStation India operations, for example, were negotiating deals with local distributors and retailers to invest in and set up an exclusive PlayStation brick and mortar stores with an eye of having 100 of these in India by 2028. That is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. That is actually nuts. That's a pretty shitty situation there. Pretty much they would be in other regions or different locations in the world negotiating business deals and possibly trying to bring over some influence to, like, for example, India, trying to start up some stuff. And they did not know, while negotiating deals and trying to get PlayStation more presence in other places, they didn't know that this was actually happening. So this can kind of hinder kind of business relationships, because again, they were negotiating with India to bring over 100 of these, I think, stores, brick and mortar stores in India by 2028. However, if there's going to be less physical media being printed, what's the purpose of even expanding upon making more brick and mortars if we're going into the digital market, right? So it says, why would we even work with PlayStation, let alone invest in a couple of cores or crows? I think that's their money, $10 million, if I'm not mistaken. It looks a little bit confusing here. I think that's their currency on a store when they're not going to be selling any discs. Okay, that's my bad. That kind of confused me right there. It says one investor that was approached. What's worse is PlayStation India didn't even tell us this was happening before it went public, but kept asking us to put money in all the same. Wow. They didn't know either, quote unquote. That is absolutely nuts, PlayStation. I'm gonna skip over to the ending parts because they're pretty much just expressing their feels towards it, saying that people in-house, like first party developing studios, some that were privy to it weren't really happy and pleased, but they thought Sony had reached out to everyone. I don't know what was the decision here. We don't know how accurate this is. Maybe Sony did reach out. We don't know if their marketing team or the communications team didn't like put this out there to these people, because this is almost just as bad as like not telling people way ahead of time your next console and giving them, like, I guess a console, like a kit, to see like what's the specs so that they know what to make games or how to make games for this particular console. So I'm gonna read here. It says, for what it's worth, a move like this does little to help the game business. The consumer wants their own games. PlayStation's entire identity is rooted in physical media. Absolutely facts. It's disturbing how CEO Hideki Nishino thought this would be a good idea. I'm very shocked that the CEO would actually put this in place, and seeing how drastic of a change has been over a 10-year span. In 10 years, we've just seen the whole industry just shift. And it says, reducing a legacy spanning multiple console generations to mere 3-paragraph blog post, which is what Sony did, that implies utter disdain for its audience is deranged, to say the least. And it appears that its own publishers and business partners that PlayStation has profited from immensely have been subject to the same fate. So seeing all this happen, PlayStation did not respond to them. PlayStation did not respond on Twitter. They didn't put out a statement about anything, because for the first time in a long time, this is probably one of their worst business decisions, next to like the whole Marathon investment and them losing out on almost $1 billion, like I think 750 million. This is just continuing to go down in a terrible slope, because for one, PlayStation, even though you guys may have not been making the best bank based off of like all your margins, physical media is way more important than they may think. And maybe their business direction, they're just in a whole different lane right now. And I get it. I don't know what's the real cause. I don't believe it's about a consumer trend. I understand tariffs are crazy. In fact, even going out to buy some collector's items, collector's pieces, you can even buy Pokemon plushies. If you go now and look overseas, they're starting to tax even more, and it's getting ridiculous. We get it. It's getting kind of crazy in price. So going digital was probably the more easier route. But if that was the case, they would have stated that it was due to tariffs. But no, they stated that it had to do with consumer trends, which kind of threw everybody off. And it was very inaccurate, because it shows here in a lot of their leaked statements that their digital market was competing with their physical market. And the reason why is because I think a lot of consumers caught on to the scam practices of them having their price margins on digital, and no other website was able to at least have a better deal or a better offering for their digital market. Literally ran a monopoly on everybody. And therefore, people would go out and buy the physical media portions of their game. So if you wanted God of War, you wanted Horizon Zero Dawn, you wanted MLB The Show, you wanted anything. It could be Forza. Or well, Forza's not out yet for the PS. I think Forza 6 is not out yet for the PS5. But the idea is that you would possibly get a better deal getting it physical versus digital. So this whole thing is a mishap. It's just disgusting in itself. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm hopefully going to get my camera back soon, or we'll see what ends up happening. But I apologize again for the footage. All right. I love you guys. I'll catch you guys on another video. We got some San Andreas dropping today. We got a lot of content dropping today. So please stay tuned. Hit the noti bell. I love you guys. We're out. Peace.